He was going to be driving down to Miami to put on the freight cargo down to Costa Rica the next day. And he didn't show up that day for feeding, which he always comes back at least in time for feeding.
Carole Baskin. She's famous for all the right and wrong reasons. And it's honestly up to you to determine what side of her fandom you fall under. Because many see her as an activist who has tried to help preserve tigers and other wild animals. But there's also those who, thanks in no small part to the documentary series Tiger King, think that she's a murderer who killed her first husband, who, for the record, has never been found. And yet she endures to this day. And so, with all of that in mind, allow us to show you Carole Baskin then and now. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The early life of Carole Baskin. You might not realize it, but Carole Baskin's life before fame wasn't as basic as you might think. She grew up on an Air Force base. She ran away from home with a guy she liked and married him because her parents didn't approve. She would later meet a man named Don Lewis and helped him grow his real estate business, as well as opening an animal sanctuary in Florida known as Wildlife. Baskin and Lewis had a tumultuous relationship, to say the least, but they stayed together until he disappeared. And as the sole beneficiary to his estate and wealth, she continued to grow her animal sanctuary and continued to be an activist for big cats, as she had been drawn to the creatures when she was young. Tiger King. Naturally, you can't talk about Carole Baskin without talking about her feud with Joe Exotic. These two major zoo owners were in a feud for a few years over various things, not the least of which was that they were rivals in the big cat zoo game, and Joe Exotic saw her as a major threat and tried to discredit her in various ways, not the least of which was growing the rumors that she had killed her husband in order to get wealth and other things. Their feud grew so big that Netflix went and made a documentary called Tiger King that showcased the rise of Joe Exotic and all the things that went into his feud with Carole Baskin, as well as how both people and animals were mistreated at his zoos. It also was sure to mention that he was in jail for hiring a person to kill Carole in order to end their feud. A bit extreme, wouldn't you say? But that's only half of the story, because there was one other thing that Tiger King did that Carole Baskin didn't appreciate. Tiger King controversy. You see, when Carole Baskin was asked to be a part of the documentary, she was told that it was going to promote how the abuse of these big cats and other zoo animals needs to stop. Something she supports. But Tiger King instead went and focused on the feud between her and Exotic, and focused multiple sections on how she killed her husband, including having a bit where Joe Exotic explained what she did with her husband more than likely. Naturally, she wasn't amused. At the end of it, she says, "I just sat there with my current husband looking at each other like, what was that? Such a missed opportunity, because there was so much they could have shown people about the egregious abuse that these animals suffer. Instead, they just glamorized this yahoo in Oklahoma and tried to create a feud. I've never even spoken to Joe Exotic. I've seen him in person, I think 4 times. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?" Dancing with the Stars. Easily one of the most curious things to come out of the success of Tiger King came when she was cast in the 29th season of Dancing with the Stars. Needless to say, that was not expected for all sorts of reasons. Not the least of which was that given all the rumors surrounding Baskin, that was a bit of a bold move for all the wrong reasons. What's more, during one of the episodes that Carole was on, an ad played from the family of her second husband asking for any clues as to what happened to him. That was awkward to say the least, but not as awkward as her dancing, because while she may have been a good activist for the big cats, she wasn't cat-like on her feet. Because despite doing various cat-themed songs to different dances, she was in the bottom of voting polls the first 2 elimination rounds, and she was the second celebrity eliminated. Still, you can't deny that this was a big thing for her, as it again put her on the world stage in a way, even if it didn't end how she would have wanted it to. Fighting for the cats. So, as we noted earlier, Carole Baskin is very much an activist for the big cats, And that is more prevalent now more than ever, as she's hoping that certain laws that are out there right now will pass in order to keep tigers and other big cats safe. Very recently, a bipartisan bill that's making its way through Congress is looking to give teeth to laws protecting these exotic animals from being abused and exploited, something that Baskin is obviously very passionate about. The Big Cat Public Safety Act would ban private ownership of big cats and forbid zoos from letting the public pet them. It passed the House in December, and a pair of Democrats in the Senate just joined a pair of Republicans to introduce their own version of the bill. And some of these politicians are very passionate about this. What's happening right now is people take these cute little animals, and before they know it, this cute little animal becomes a big tiger or a big lion. And the owner cannot handle that anymore, one said. And sometimes there's very unfortunate endings to those stories. And of course, Baskin had plenty to say on the matter. As soon as I figured out we couldn't rescue our way out of this problem, and that we had to legislate our way out of this big cat crisis in America, we started working on trying to close off the tap, she noted. You can't mop up all the mess out there until you stop all these animals ending up in this situation. It's good to see that she is sticking to her activist ways despite all of the negative attention that Tiger King brought her. And she'll no doubt continue to fight for the safety of the big cats going forward. Cryptocurrency. If you want to focus on the very much now, you need to look no further than what Carole Baskin has been doing in terms of money. Not the revenue she makes for her various things, but rather the cryptocurrency that she has launched that is not surprisingly cat-themed. Baskin's new digital currency, called Catcoin, allows fans to buy merchandise or online experiences from Baskin's Big Cat Rescue Animal Sanctuary in Tampa, Florida, starting at $5, which, if you think about it, is honestly kind of clever in its own way, even if her motivation for doing this is a bit suspect. I'm investigating cryptocurrencies because I'm concerned about the volume of US dollars that are being printed and distributed with nothing to back them up, read the statement that announced the new currency. Our new Catcoin is not a currency for investment, she added, but rather is a currency of our fans to show their love for the cats. Big Cat Rescue says it will also launch non-fungible tokens in 2 weeks, and future plans include a Big Cat metaverse for virtual visits with the cats. You have to admire the initiative to go and do things differently, and that's kind of what her life is all about in certain ways, don't you think? The future of Carole Baskin. So that is the question now, isn't it? Because when you think about it, Carole Baskin is a person of many faces and layers that have been revealed to the world over time. Yes, she's an activist, and she does run zoos, but there's also some weirder and downright darker elements to her story that you have to wonder what is real and what exactly is fiction. And yeah, we're referring to her still missing husband. Her future is one that isn't going to slow down anytime soon, because there's going to be a documentary about her coming out, and the more people that watch Tiger King, the more there are going to be rumors and searches about what she really did to her husband. But she'll push through like she always has, and that's what makes her future such a curious thing. Because who knows what's going to happen next with her? We certainly don't know. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at Carole Baskin and the life that made her the Tiger Queen, and someone suspected of murder? Can you believe the various twists and turns that her life has taken over the years? Which of these events do you find the most curious? Do you know any other elements of Carole Baskin's life that should be talked about? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.